Good morning, everyone. My name is Miller. I am the SAS and Head of Paranormal Prevention of the Institute. You might know me from, well, this lecture actually. As you might have noticed, this is an audio recording that you've just been sent without much notice. This is due to the fact that we at the Institute take this current situation very seriously. We cannot be incapacitated by any kind of disease because the work we do is rather important. So cramming all of our agents into an auditorium for the sake of a lecture would be unwise. Given that this audio recording might be a breach of security, we will however not proceed with the planned schedule and instead go over some older files. Don't worry, they still have relevant information. Most of these will be artifact or incident files. Some of these will be strike reviews, though they will be heavily redacted. This again is for our own safety and, as a matter of fact, also for your safety, since some of these files actually contain information that you would not be privy to without proper security clearance. Now, given all of these statements, I'm sure you have many questions. I am, as always, reachable through email. You can contact me during, well, business hours at my office, and should I not be there, which honestly is pretty likely, you can just leave a message with my secretary. He will then let me know if it is super important. If it is not, he will just come back to you personally without informing me. And I do so hope that this will all blow over quick. Now, to the actual lecture. Today we will be looking at an artifact file, as I mentioned before. This is an older file. As a matter of fact, this is a file from back in the day before we were known as the Institute. And honestly, reading this again makes me feel a tad bit old. In any case, today we are looking at artifact class objects 04-001-A, the arsonist's lighter. Security procedures. 04-01-A, and the following referred to as A, is to be kept in a 15 by 15 by 15 centimeter container of non-flammable material, filled with water cooled to no more than -3 degrees Celsius at all times. The water is to be liquid at all times as well. As by recommendation of Dr. Schwartz, sodium chloride should be added to the water to guarantee that it can sustain this low temperature without freezing. This was back in the day when the Institute didn't have funds for, well, proper chemical analysis, I suppose. The cooling unit used is to undergo decontamination procedures before hosting a security container. This is to prevent dirt or other contaminants in the water itself or near the container, because those, well, you will see why. The cooling unit and the security container are to be secured by separate locks using separate keys that are to be stored separately and only accessible by staff with proper clearance. If A must be removed for testing, all involved staff must wear fireproof protective gear at all times and must also wear visors shielded against high volumes of intense light. Now, as per the lecture plan, I am required to read out these texts more or less as they stand here. So, yeah. Thank you, Cecil, for writing that note. Note, SAS Miller, yours truly, is not to place the containment unit of 04-001-A in the common rooms or in Dr. Schwartz's private freezer to, quote, spice things up around the office, end quote. And end note. Just for the record, it did spice things up. Item description. 04-001-A is a Zippo brand lighter made from stainless steel. After the events of incident 04-001, a sigil of unknown origin, presumed to be connected to the O3 entity's domain, is burned into the front of the lighter. For all of you who took my strike class last semester, this might ring a bell. For all of you who did take my strike class last semester and this doesn't ring a bell, congratulations on failing that class. Properties. 04-001-A houses a violent and malevolent 04 Avatar class instance. Thus, its properties have been greatly enhanced. It does not need a spark or heat source of any kind to light. It also does not run out of or require any fuel. The flame that A produces does not exceed a height of 6.5 centimeters unless it is given any fuel in the form of flammable material whatsoever. If A is to be fed fuel, rapid oxidation of said fuel occurs. See test 04-001-A1. A can produce a flame in absence of oxygen or any atmosphere. It is yet unknown how A is capable of such a feat. However, it is theorized that the flame produced by A in a vacuum is not of the same chemical makeup as the one produced in an atmosphere. Addendum. After test 04-001-A2, it has been theorized that the 04 Avatar class incident housed in A is aware of its surroundings and could potentially actively try to breach security containment. Test 04-001-A1. A was removed from security containment and multiple sources of fuel were fed into the flame that A produced after being opened. The fuel sources. First, a match, wood, 10 centimeters, was fed to A and completely burned to ash in 0.5 seconds, thus releasing a great deal of energy into the surrounding area. A sheet of paper was fed to A and completely burned to ash in 0.3 seconds, with similar effects. 10 milliliters of pure butanol were fed and burned completely in under 0.1 seconds. The resulting flame injured nearby staff. Fourth, 1 cubic decimeter of wood was fed to A and burned to ash in a vacuum in 2 seconds. The ash contained all chemical products expected from burning this amount of wood under standard atmosphere. Test 04-001-A2. A was removed from security containment and placed unopened underneath 3 10 by 10 by 10 cubes of metal containing nothing on the far left, nothing in the middle, and wood chippings, 10 grams, on the right. It was then opened and produced a steady flame, charring the underside of the middle cube. After it was closed again and moved above the cubes, those cubes had been opened and left open on the top side, A was returned to his exact original position and opened again. Now it produced a curved flame, charring the underside of the rightmost cube and igniting the wood chips inside, which burned at an accelerated but lessened speed compared to A's usual rate of consuming wood. Therefore, we can deduce that A reacts to visual stimuli and can remember information. It is unclear how A is capable of this. Next, A was placed under the cubes and opened again after being shown the contents in the same manner and produced a curved flame, first burning the contents of the leftmost cube, a Best of Helene Fischer CD, and then curved to burn the contents of the right cube, a Best of Florian Silbereisen CD. Finally, the flame shrunk, not damaging the contents of the last cube, a Best of Queen CD. When the CD was played within hearing distance of A, it extinguished and shut itself. So, A is possibly sentient and might even have a personality. It is theorized that the O4 avatar class incident within A has taken on the personality of its last host, or at least gained their knowledge and understanding of the modern world. There's a lot to say to that, but let's move on for now. A was placed under cubes after being shown them all to contain wood chips, left 10 grams, middle 30 grams, right 20 grams, and burned middle, right, left, meaning 30 to 20 to 10. A was placed under cubes after being shown them to contain wood chips, left 13 grams, middle 12 grams, right 11, and burned left, middle, right. So 13 to 12 to 11. Therefore, we can deduce that A can tell the difference in available fuel beyond average human capability. It is theorized that A can tell the difference down to a level beyond possible human capability, even when utilizing tools. A means of communicating with O4-01-A is currently being devised by a head of research, Dr. C. Schwartz. End file. Now, my own personal notes on this specific file. As I said before, it is quite old, therefore the difference in formatting and the difference in language. This has been written back in, 2018 maybe? In any case, Dr. Cecil Schwartz has not come up with any way to communicate with O4-01A, but I did. Though I do suppose it's somewhat more personal for me. Well, as I said before, should there be any questions regarding this specific file, do contact me. I'm happy to help. And stay safe out there. We need you.